everyone. Today I want to talk about an interesting thing about Japan. Do you know this movie? I prepared the audio, but the audio isn't working. Yeah, Koreans very like Japan and love to visit Japan for travel, and they like their food, and it's obvious. But when it comes to soccer game, especially, we hate each other so much, and it's like a war. And I think it is related to the picture below here, the Rising Sun flag. And I want to talk about those war crimes Japan did past, like wartime sex slavery and Nanjing Massacre and forced labor. They did a lot of horrible things to us. And now they apologize, but right after those apologize, they create their war criminals and tends to deny those war crimes. And I want to ask you guys and girls and ladies, why Japan doesn't apologize clearly about their past sins? I want you to know and solve this problem because I don't want to hate Japan, because I love sushi and I don't want to hate them. So I want to know why they are making me to hate them. So why so different? One is praying for their victims, but the other one is praying for the war criminals. To give you information, he's praying for the war criminal in Yasukuni Shrine, if you have ever heard of. Those shrines have 14 war criminals, class A war criminals in their temple. And I got a conclusion after the term paper work last semester that those reasons are related to Cold War and the USA's strategic interest in East Asia. Before going deeper, have you ever thought about why those problems like war crimes such as sex slavery or Nanjing Massacre came out to the world so late? Why? It's like several years after the war ended. It's already 70 years. Why now? And why is it still a problem? Yeah, the fact is that only after 40 years, it means that in the 90s, the testimonies relating to those war crimes came out to the world. And we'll go through it. So what happened for 40 years in Asia? There was a Cold War. When the Cold War was going on, USA was worried about the communism spreading around the whole Asia, and USA wanted to stop that spread of communism. You can see the names of nations in Asia. So, to stop the communism spread in Asia, USA needed a strong alliance, and they selected Japan as a strong alliance. So, they didn't want their alliance to burden a large, enormous amount of reparations, which means war compensation, and they didn't want their alliances to fight each other, and they didn't want their alliances to fight against Russia or Soviet Union. So they helped Japan a lot internationally. Even though they were a war crime nation, USA helped them to come back to the international stage through the Peace Conference at San Francisco. In this conference, USA forced other countries to sit here to give up the rights for reparations against Japan. And they pressured their governments to suppress the critical public opinion against Japan, and this picture is taken in 1965 in Korea, when the agreement of Korea and Japan happened. And so, only after the Cold War ended and democracy came into Asia in the 90s, like Taiwan or South Korea or Philippines, those testimonies were able to come up to the world. So, why Japan? Why USA selected Japan as their alliance? It's simple. It's because they had perfect geographical conditions. As you can see, Japan, and especially Okinawa, is the perfect point for transition, US's Air Force transition. So, Japan learned that as long as they keep good relationships with USA, they could thrive. So they could thrive internationally. So they didn't need to care about other Asian countries, how they talk about those past scenes or not. They didn't care about. They didn't need to. And not only USA gave an indulgence to Japan internationally, as you see through it. They gave an indulgence domestically to Japan. Do you know who's grandfather of Shinzo Abe, Prime Minister? His name is Kishinovsuke, and he's actually the suspicion of Class A war crime. And this is not only true for the Abe, but it's true for most of politicians in Japan. Because USA wanted Japan to be stabilized and not to be communism country. They forgive those existing power in Japan, and they only executed part of those people who are responsible for the war. And as you see, the most important and most responsible person, Tenno, who is the king of Japan, didn't get any punishment. And rather, USA made Japan as an armed country to fight against communism. And it wasn't, we can summarize that it was an uncommon alliance for the common good. The common good is fighting against communism. And I had a video about what current politicians in Japan doing, because they are trying to teach children that they did nothing wrong, and hiding those war crimes like slavery or Nanjing massacre, hiding them, and they're like leaving out those contents in the textbook. And the video was about that. And again, we can blame, or we can say that USA is responsible for this ridiculous situation. So to conclude, we have talked about so far we have talked about the reason why Japan don't apologize for the past sins before regarding World War. And I would say that USA gave an indulgence to Japan both internationally and domestically. So and even current situations are similar now. So again, who is responsible about those wrong